Here's something I'm confused by. Gum flavors, right? I go to the gum section where you buy the gum, packets of gum. You chew.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the flavors, and there's mint.
Yes.
There's wintergreen. There's spearmint. There's winter mint.
There's a winter mint.
There's winter mint.
Winter mint.
And now there's bubble mint. What's bubble mint?
Sounds like a small child who can't say government. Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 4 of the FoundryCast. We're your hosts. I'm Cyrus.
And I am Zach.
And welcome back to another episode. We're pretty excited. We've been tweaking things over the last few weeks, trying to streamline, make it harder, better, faster, stronger.
Most of those things.
At least a little bit of some of those things.
One of those things.
But it's been a process, getting time to put stuff together, listening to your feedback. We do have a little bit of feedback, and we do have an item in the mailbag for you tonight or today, whenever you decide to listen to the podcast. I prefer a late afternoon podcast myself.
I like it first thing in the morning, after my cup of coffee.
Cup of coffee, on the way to work, at home before you leave.
Yeah. No, actually, I like podcasts. I like listening to podcasts as I drive.
I love doing that. Since
the radio is useless these days. They used to be an oldies station in town, and it's long gone, so there's nothing to listen to. So.
Which one was that?
96.5.
Oh, yeah.
It was an oldies station for many years, and then they changed to Top 40 or whatever the hell.
Well, I used to listen to a radio station when I was stationed at Cherry Point every morning. And I would even at some points record it with a cassette radio and go back to the barracks and just listen to what of it I could record because it was a 4-hour show and I only had like a 90-minute tape.
Like a morning drive show kind of thing?
Well, yeah, sort of. A little morning drive, but not your morning zoo. More of a call-in advice show, and they'd go out and they'd do stunts. It was kind of a guy's show, but it wasn't all burps and farts. It was pretty great. But then when I moved back here, they weren't available. And they finally came on the mountain. Yeah. The local, like, rock station. Right. And they were huge, but then something happened and the mountain changed ownership or something and they went away. And that's when I got into podcasting. I found them again and have subscribed and love to drive because I used to do so much commuting. First thing in the morning, last thing at night, I like to have it on because I feel like I'm hanging out with friends, but at the same time, I get my news, I get my sports, I get everything, and I can do it while I'm shopping. I don't have to listen to the music.
Right. Yeah. I like to do it also occasionally when I get the opportunity, like at work where we're counting inventory or something where I can be disengaged from people. It's always nice to throw on a podcast and, not, I won't say half listen, but, partially listen, I guess.
More than background noise.
Yeah, to where it's entertaining background noise.
The last thing in the world I need is to be left alone with my thoughts.
Yeah.
That's so dangerous.
It's a very dark place.
So what's going on in current events?
So anyway, I want to talk about some news that I read today, in fact. I think it may have come out recently, but I just saw it today. There's been some leaked info on the internet about Nintendo's new console, the NX, which I think we mentioned last week, or last time, I guess I should say, on the podcast. So there's been some rumors swirling around a little bit about the Nintendo NX. It's supposedly going to be announced later this year, and it's going to come out sometime next year. But people have been kind of speculating about will it or won't it use cartridges. And
that's something that is really important to me. I love the idea of cartridges, but as we discussed, do you have much space for that? But if the cartridge is the same size as the DVD box that we've been using for 20 years now, I don't think it's a problem.
Well, interestingly enough, space won't be as much of a problem with this one if these rumors are true. And from what I understand, they come from a source that apparently has given some more Nintendo rumors in the past that have come true. So it seems like they're on the ball. They might not be, but it seems like it. So the big reveal is that the NX is going to be a hybrid handheld / TV console. More mobile than the Wii U was.
Okay.
So we went from Wii, which was tied to a TV, to the Wii U, where you could take the screen in the other room Now the idea is that you're going to be able to take the console with you wherever you go. It has a screen built into it, just like the Wii U. In fact, the mock-up that I saw looks very similar to the Wii U controller now.
Sure.
Big screen in the center. You can play the game on that. You can also sit it next to your TV, hook it up to your TV, and play it on the big TV as well.
I don't know how I feel about that. I want to be excited. That's what got me into the Wii U. I like the idea of having that second screen experience to be able to interact, but I think Nintendo is so great at caring about family, caring about playing as a group together in the living room, as opposed to online play. But where they lost me was that handheld didn't do much.
Yeah.
It really wasn't as useful as it could have been, as opposed to that DualShock PlayStation 2 controller killed. It was the best controller in my mind of all time.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I think it's an interesting take. It eliminates one of the problems with the Wii U little screen. I love the idea that you can turn the TV off, go in the bedroom with
That's
the Wii
the best
U and
thing.
play it. Now you can do that, but literally go anywhere with it, which is neat. You get rid of that. You're not tethered to your home anymore with it, which makes sense. The other thing I like, and you're talking about, encouraging playing together in person, which I totally agree is a great thing about Nintendo and what they do. Based on the mock-ups, and it's not for sure. So the sides of this NX detach, where the control surfaces are, come apart, and they are attached controllers.
Somewhat like the Wiimote. It would be.
Yeah, they look like the nunchuck and the Wiimote, sort of, but they're both square. But the interesting speculation there is that you could take those off and sit there, mobile, wherever, and play local multiplayer. So two people, like each person has one of those. And you can play multiplayer games. So it's like a Nintendo DS or 3DS that has two controllers that you can play multiplayer wherever.
I think that's a cute idea, but this just happens to be what I see all the time at work when parents are doing their thing and they leave their kids behind, and you have one kid with a tablet and two other kids arching their neck around so they can watch whatever the other kid's doing. Yeah. I don't want to share a small screen experience to play a game. I want to play it on the big screen if I'm sharing. Yeah. Now, if it was my controller will talk to your controller, that the 3DS will already do, I have a 3DS for that.
Yeah.
What I want is for Nintendo to try to rival PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and go into the high-def, super glossy field so that when that one game hits those two systems, I don't have to sit on the bench with my my Wii U and I can't play with everybody.
Yeah, this is clearly Nintendo saying that they are not interested in doing that. This is not going to be a normal. It's fairly small, so I can't imagine it's going to have the power of the new upgraded PS4 and the upgraded 360 that are coming out. Later this year, next year. So it's obviously not going to be able to do high-end titles. Grand Theft Auto 6 is probably not going to be on this console. So yeah, it's interesting to me. They're going whole hog into that. I also think it's really interesting because we've speculated about this a long time ago in other conversations about the future of gaming, where it's going, and we talked about mobility and ease of use, and this is definitely up that alley of mobility. Okay, great. Theoretically, this is a full-powered, quote-unquote, full-power console that you can play anywhere. But what's interesting to me, and when we had that discussion, I said, Nintendo, I don't think they would ever do that with their main console, because why would they split their revenue? Or combine their revenue? I'm sorry.
They should split their revenue.
Up to this point, they've had the 3DS, which is sold like crazy. The DS before it sold like crazy. And they had the Wii U, which didn't do as well. So they're combining those two revenue streams together into a single console. Now, maybe that means it's going to do even better than the 3DS. But again, you said it yourself. You've got a 3DS already.
I have one.
Do you need another mobile console from Nintendo?
I have several. I have a DS and a 3DS. I have 4 Game Boy Advances because I was playing several games where you could connect them all.
Right.
Like Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. Everybody got to use one, and it was super cool. So I like the idea of having those smaller on-the-go systems, but I've got my phone.
Yeah.
I've got a tablet.
Yeah.
there are laptop tablet hybrids that will play much better games than a lot of your handhelds will, because you have to build in all of this system memory instead of something that is a slimmed down PC.
So I mean, that's interesting. It's a huge compromise system, but they're banking on it being successful. I don't know. We'll see. They've always had that mobile market to fall on as kind of their cash cow, Nintendo, and it didn't really matter what they did with their console because they're always going to make money. So now this is, I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see how well it does. If
rumors can be believed, then we'll find out soon enough.
Oh, and actually, no, to follow up your original question, yes, it's going to use cartridges. If this rumor is to be believed, it'll use, we would assume, smaller cartridges, sort of like the 3DS.
That might be the only reason I care. Well, speaking of Nintendo, I wanted to go back, and the Snorlax in the room has returned.
Yeah.
Pokemon Go, still a huge thing, but there is starting to be a sweeping tide of fan base against the game. Have you been hearing a little bit about this?
I've heard some folks are getting upset with some of the changes Niantic has done with the game.
Yeah, a few of the changes, and it reminds me of, as soon as this game came out, people had already put Pokemon back on the shelf.
Right.
Figuratively and literally. Yeah. They okay, well, what is this game again? I do remember these characters. I do love these characters. But they have moved on to newer and fresher things. But the game has brought back their enthusiasm for it. I thought that was really cool. I was thinking to myself, I do have a Game Boy Color in my closet that came out with the silver and gold release. Yeah. So it's got Pikachu on the glass part, and then the color is this weird silver gold mix, so it's really shiny.
Yeah.
And I had silver and I had gold, and I was thinking, I ought to get those back out and play them again. Or some of the updated versions of those same games with new names and slicker graphics.
Yeah, the redone versions on the DS.
Might be worth checking out because I liked the characters and I remember the layout of the towns and where the gyms were. Right. So it's infused itself back with energy, but the fan base has become more discerning. And when you're doing something in the mobile market, you've got to be able to keep up. So the problems they had with servers when it rolled out, that's almost forgivable.
Yeah, people kind of overlooked that. And they went away fairly quickly.
Yeah, that wasn't as big a problem. But there were a few things that had everyone irate. First of all is the 3 footprint problem.
Yeah, which honestly I still don't really understand the outrage with that because I never really used that tracking thing anyway.
I can see how it would be incredibly useful if you were traipsing all over town and you were trying to, let's say you and I were out hunting together and we both go different directions and all of a sudden I start getting 3 steps and you start getting 1 step. We know the direction to go.
Right.
So it was useful in tracking them down because that's the one thing that you haven't been able to do that I think was supposed to be added in the beginning. But for whatever reason, developers weren't able to keep up with it. Yeah. When I got the game, I only saw 3 steps.
Yeah,
the whole time.
Really worked right. Yeah.
I didn't know it meant anything different. I thought maybe if I missed the Pokemon, I didn't catch it and it disappeared, maybe I now have 2 chances and I would see 2 paw prints or whatever. So I never really knew what the issue was. But Niantic just released an update that helped with the user interface.
Yeah, they changed where some buttons were and stuff.
And I like that. It makes more sense.
On reflection, I enjoy it more. Yeah.
You can change your avatar, although it's so severely limited. I don't see the point.
Yeah, I went back yesterday actually, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I can pick new clothing now." And there's hardly any options.
Four options for clothing. Yeah. There are more options for race than anything else, and that's all.
Yeah, that's probably, I guess, the most important option to have to include everybody.
Can I include a non-J-pop inspired haircut?
Yeah, I want a different hat. I don't like visors.
Why do they all look like... They're supposed to be their own thing, but they all look like tennis stars.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, they look like tennis players.
They need more costumes, but that's fine. I don't.
I'm not too worried about that.
I don't play the game to see what my avatar looks like, but it would be nice if you go to a gym and then you see the trainer and it actually looks kind of like the person or something like that. But the developers weren't responding to criticism. They weren't responding to people's input. It was almost like a media blackout. And so a huge backswell of irate fans have banded together to apply 1 stars on the App Store. And I just looked. They're down to 2 stars.
Wow.
The best selling, the most downloaded app of all time, breaking records left, right, and center. And they are at 2 stars. And when I looked at it 2 days ago, they were at 1 star.
Yeah, I think they'll... I don't think it'll affect them too much. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice if they listened to fans a little bit more, but in the end, I think you're going to have just too many people who are just going to play that game and just try and enjoy it for what it is. I don't think there's I might be wrong, but I don't think there's going to be enough people to be that actively engaged to, bring that game back down again. It seems like it's going to have legs at least through the end of the year, I would assume, especially once they introduce, new Pokemon, maybe a new mechanic or something down the road. They're talking about introducing trading and maybe even like player versus player battles.
They're missing player versus player battles with people that you want to battle, or you could probably go into a network. I think they need to stay away from the ability to communicate with each other, because we're going to start getting into a dark road at that point.
Yeah, I think they need to keep it to where it needs to be local. You need to be there next to the person, and I think they need to introduce some sort of like friend system or something too, to where you're not going to have kids battling and then starting physical fights or something.
Yeah, grown-ups are stealing their Pokemon in unsanctioned battles.
Although I will say, I just said kids, but I realized something the other day. We were at the park and walking around, and I had pulled out my phone a couple times to get some Pokestops or whatever. And as we were at the park, I looked around and noticed that literally every single person at the park playing Pokemon Go was at least a late teen.
Yep.
If not older. And there were all these kids there playing in the playground, riding their bikes, etc., etc. None of them were playing Pokemon Go. And it's fair enough, most kids don't have a smartphone, but still, I just thought that was really interesting.
And as soon as they get a smartphone, they're in. Or maybe the parents are playing with the kid's smartphone.
Yeah.
You on the swings, Betty. I'm going to see if I can catch another Pikachu. Catch yet another Pikachu.
So thinking about Pokemon, actually, it reminds me of something that I wanted to talk to you, get your take on. So back when I was a kid, specifically with Pokemon, but it applied to a lot of different things. There was this thing for anybody who's listening who's younger than 25 or so. There used to be these things called magazines that were pieces of glossy paper that were stapled together, and you'd buy them and read them. This was before the internet existed. And I remember there was one time when I was traveling with my family. We were flying somewhere, I don't know, and it meant long layovers at airports. And at the first airport we stopped at, I bought a Pokemon guidebook, and this was when it was red and blue and yellow, and there were only Pokemon games out. And it was a guidebook about where Pokemon can be found, what's in it, so it's all the stuff you would find today on the internet. But I remember that whole trip just poring over that magazine, just over and loving every minute of it. And it reminded me of, back in the day, gaming mags. PC Gamer was my addiction. I loved PC Gamer. I loved reading the article. They had great articles, great reviews. News, it was awesome. PSN, I had a subscription to for a long time for PlayStation. Oh, wow. Nintendo Power, I never subscribed because I didn't have a Nintendo when I was a kid, but another classic example. So it reminded me, there were these things as a kid that I loved, and that game magazines especially, I just absolutely loved reading. And they're not around anymore, and they really haven't been replaced. They've been replaced by the internet, quote unquote, but it's not the same anymore. So I was going to see, is there something that you remember from your childhood as a nascent geek growing up that you loved that is gone?
There's so many things. Like you said, magazines are huge. I would collect the magazine. I would cover to cover, back and forth.
PC Gamers.
And I wish I had kept them because some of them might be worth something nowadays. You never really know, but I think part of my love of magazines was the weirdest thing. I spent a weekend with my grandmother and grandfather, and they took me to not a swap meet, but the flea market.
Flea market, yeah.
And they said, what do you want to buy? Here, you've got $5, buy whatever you want. Mm-hmm. And there was a Mad magazine. And I remember the issue was about Batman.
Yeah.
And the cover was yellow. And I thought, oh, that'd be cool. That one was jam-packed with the tiny little cartoons in the ledgers and so much spoofing. And it really stuck with me because it was crude at times, but it wasn't the worst. Future Mad magazines, I started to hate the cartoony style of it. Got really weird and drawn out, and they were trying to make everything. Once they started doing like Twilight on Mad magazine, I was done because the movie itself was somewhat of a joke. I loved Mad magazine, and I loved Nintendo Power. I got Nintendo Power, and I stayed with Nintendo Power because they were offering, with your upgraded subscription, Star Fox Pogs.
Oh, nice.
So little things like that, little toys that were truly collectible that you could trade, that weren't like a card game like Pokemon, but before that. So you would get toys, and some of them were hidden and you wouldn't know what they were, but sometimes you could pick, I want those 4 guys. And then if your friends came over and they had something you liked, you might want to trade with them. Because everybody had that toy. Everybody had pink muscle men. Do you remember those?
Yeah, yeah.
That sounded worse than I meant it to. Everyone had little pink muscle men.
Yeah, the little wrestler guys.
The little space wrestlers from Japan. Yeah. That was a big deal in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I also miss cartoons. I don't know if that's been memed to death, but I got up this weekend, Saturday morning.
They're gone.
There were no cartoons. There were some great educational programs about dolphins in Australia, but it wasn't made so that I could get up, have a bowl of cereal, and watch Animaniacs.
I used to get up 6 a.m., and the first show, I think, was always Land of the Lost. The new Land of the Lost. Not the 70s Land of the Lost, but the late 80s, early 90s live-action Land of the Lost.
A hungry brontosaurus could be looking for us. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that show.
Great show.
It was terrible, and I loved it.
Great for us and great for the time.
Yeah.
I also miss metal toys.
Like die-cast.
Like die-cast metal toys. Not plastic.
Yeah, metal's not safe anymore.
My stepbrother had the original Voltron. The full-size die-cast metal.
Yeah.
I remember wanting to play with it, and he wouldn't let me. I'm like, come on, it's made of metal. I ain't gonna break it. But he still never did. And I remember seeing it sitting in the corner of the basement, like the dirt basement of the house, one of the last times I was ever in it, and thinking, oh, I want to just take it, because he hasn't touched it in months.
Yeah.
I want to take it back to my mom's house and play with it. Yeah. And I was seriously thinking of nicking his toy, but I realized he had lost one of the leg lions. So incomplete. So I thought, no, I'm sure I can find one. Maybe when I turn 16 and get a job, I'll be able to afford one myself.
Yeah.
Good luck finding that on eBay for less than $500.
Yeah, a few $1,000. Yeah. Yeah.
What else do you miss?
And this is the other thing that I talk about a lot, and but it reminded me again. There was just an announcement a couple days ago from DragonCon that they are partnering with this company. I think they're in Atlanta, but I'm not sure because DragonCon's in Atlanta. It's a company that rents out arcade machines, so they're doing a full-on what they call a Japanese-style arcade. So it's going to be like Dance Dance and some other games, but they're going to do it like a really nice big arcade that's going to be there that weekend. And I'm stoked for that, and it also reminded me of just how much I miss arcades.
I miss the cabinets.
Real arcades. I mean, they still exist today. There's a place nearby here that has quite a few quote-unquote arcade games, but these days it's, you have a couple of racing games next to each other, and then the rest are like those things where you spin the light around and try and stop to get tickets, or the thing where you push the button and you try and get the iPhone or something. Yeah. And those aren't fun. I miss Turtles in Time, or not Turtles in Time, Ninja Turtles, the original Ninja Turtles, the Simpsons arcade game, the X-Men arcade game, Narc, and what else? Pole Position. The original Star Wars game. That was so good.
I liked Afterburner 2, because that was one of the ones that you could get in the cockpit and fly.
Move. Yeah. So
you now have a large house with a lot of money to spend, and you could put into that house 5 cabinets. Which 5 would you pick?
Spy Hunter.
Okay.
Narc. Strider.
Ah.
The Galaga Mrs. Pac-Man multi-cab.
Saw one of those here in the last couple of weeks.
And I don't know. The last one's a tough choice between Simpsons, Ninja Turtles, or the X-Men. Probably the 6-person big X-Men
the
game.
6-person ones.
Yeah.
You basically hit on 3 of my 5. And I told you, and you've seen the photographic proof that last year my wife and I beat the X-Men game.
You did?
It was only a 4-player, but it was still cool.
It's still the same game.
It was still like, I'm like, don't pick Dazzler. Just go anyone but Dazzler. You know, she's like, oh, I kind of like, she likes Wolverine. I think she liked Nightcrawler the best. He zipped around screen.
Yeah.
So I was doing nothing but Cyclops or maybe Colossus some of the time. So that would definitely be my number 1, the 6.
The big one.
The big one.
Screen, yeah.
Simpsons was a great one because my cousin, my friend, and I beat that one as well. We pumped some quarters into that bad boy.
Yeah.
But it's such a funny game, too.
It's great, yeah. That was made when The Simpsons was great, was still absolutely at its peak. And yeah, the humor is there. It's just a good game.
So
yeah, it's a great game too. But
it wasn't necessarily that they skinned something that was already out there.
Right.
They built from the ground up a fully functional, fully fun game.
Yeah.
The first Ninja Turtles, where you got to save April O'Neil in the burning apartment.
Yeah, the very first level of the burning apartment.
That's great. I like when you get into the cockpit of Afterburner. That's why I mentioned it. Because we had it at the local movie theater here in town, and anytime I had money that I didn't spend on Twizzlers and Coke, that was it. And I think now, since I've played it as an adult and beat it on the PlayStation 2, Gauntlet Dark Legacy.
You know, I was about to actually go back and say I kind of forgot Gauntlet.
Gauntlet
Dark Legacy especially was... I was thinking the original Gauntlet, but Dark Legacy is probably a better choice because it's a better game.
And then there's some other tournament-style Gauntlet game, I believe, that came out before Dark Legacy. Yeah. Same kind of thing, but you're limited to only 3 characters you could choose from. Yeah. Dark Legacy, I think you get the full cast, and then I don't know if it wasn't until you got to the home consoles that you could unlock the reskinned versions where you could be the unicorn, or you could be the other type of wizard, or what have you. But dwarfs for the win, man. On this episode for Table Topics, I wanted to go into our mailbag. We do actually have, like I said, something from John, and he was asking about 2 games and what we thought about the RPG elements in Betrayal, in the House on Haunted Hill, and also Mysterium.
Okay.
And are you familiar with those games at all?
Not at all, actually. I mean, I think I've heard of the House on Haunted Hill just tangentially once or twice, but I know nothing about either.
Well, House on Haunted Hill is represented in media in a couple different places. The game is called Betrayal at House on Haunted Hill. Okay, it's a little different. Yeah. I think House is a movie, or it may also be a video game. I do not believe they're connected. I'll start with Mysterium because I know only a little bit about these games. I've seen them in stores. I haven't yet got a chance to play them thoroughly. But Mysterium is where one person plays a ghost who has lost their memories, and they're trying to find out who killed them.
Okay.
And you need about another 4 or 5 players. And they are all the mediums who are trying to talk with you. And it's a lot like Clue. There are pieces of evidence, there are locations, and the ghost gives out the cards randomly in secret to the mediums.
Gotcha.
And they try to compete against each other. There is a way to lose where you don't solve the mystery. But it seems like a fun game. I think there's some conspiratorial notes. What do you think about a game like that? It appears as if... I don't know if it's been translated into English yet completely. Okay. That it's mostly just picture cards, beautifully rendered artistry, almost of visions that the mediums are getting.
That's a neat idea, yeah.
And there is a handbook you can get downloaded off the internet in English. But it seems as if it's up to the players to create the character of their medium to help in the gameplay. But I don't know if it gives any bonuses at all. So,
let me guess first, is this a German game?
It's either German or French, I believe.
The Germans make a lot of really good board games. I don't know. It sounds interesting. I like the creative aspect of it. I really like the idea that the cards don't say the suspect was 6 feet tall or whatever. It's a picture, I'm assuming, of like a pond or something, and you have to assume they were drowned or something like that. I really like that idea of making it less nuts and bolts, rule, follow the ABC and you win kind of thing. Interesting. It's also interesting. So, do the mediums have to work together, or
it seems as if they can work together, or they work against each other?
Okay, because it's sort of like competitive cooperative, which is always a fun aspect of a game where it's sort of like Munchkin or something, where you have to a limited extent, work with other people and count on other people to help you win the game. But in the end, you want to be the one who wins the game. And you want to make sure that they lose. So I like that competitive aspect of it. It sounds interesting. It sounds like it could be fun. It sounds like you could definitely use it to introduce a lot more role-playing than you would in a normal board game. You could try and role-play Settlers of Catan, and that might be fun, but it's not really a natural fit. Whereas this sounds like you could almost use the card game as a rule set for a RP session.
Just to update, because I did look it up really quickly, you have 7 days and 7 nights, which I guess would equal rounds in the game.
Yeah, I'm sure.
To reach the goal, and if you succeed in time, everyone wins, including the ghost.
Oh, okay.
If you don't, everybody loses. So it seems cooperative.
Okay.
I like the idea, but as far as a role-playing game goes, I like the idea that if you commit to the character, or if you have sort of an inspired moment, that it could help you in some way.
Yeah.
Here it seems more like just part of the rules of the game, or the ghost, or whoever is the arbiter of the game.
Yeah.
Gives you perks. So it doesn't sound like it's a role-playing game. It's just something you can really have a lot of fun with.
Yeah.
So for a person who may not have played a tabletop role-playing game that has rules like that, it sounds like it might be a good broaching the subject.
Yeah, it's a good gateway game to get somebody. Well, I'm assuming, I haven't played it. I'm assuming it's a good gateway game because it sounds like it could. There's enough of a rule set there to where a board game person, but not a role-playing game person, could enjoy it and understand it, but also. I'm sure there's some creativity, some getting into character, some opening up and chatting, which I'm noticing a lot of newer board games are doing, and I like that. And like you said, it seems like a nice way to lead somebody down that path.
The same board game can be played a number of different ways, but it really ends up being like the way you shuffle cards in a deck. The outcome is either this person wins or this person loses. Right. The fun of the game is just in the rolling of the dice and what card you draw. And after a while, that gets exhausting. You don't really enjoy Candyland after the 15th, 20th time you've played it. Yeah. It sounds like a game like this could be fun over and over and over again because of the spirit in which it's played. Yeah,
I think this is a game that would appeal to a specific group as well. A group that wants to have some role-playing going on, but maybe a group that can't necessarily be trusted to... trust is a bad word, but a group that doesn't necessarily tend to push a game down a plot or to push a game through rules. And so this is giving you a chance to have that opportunity to be characters a little bit while still giving them that a helping hand to pull them through a quote-unquote game. So
now, when we get into the other game, Betrayal at House on Haunted Hill, you're getting a bit closer to what I would consider to be tabletop role-playing.
Yeah.
Because you are in a haunted mansion, and everybody is able to help build this haunted mansion together.
Okay.
There are character cards and pre-painted minis.
Okay.
And as you play, one person is selected as the betrayer. The traitor, and they keep messing things up. So everyone has to figure out who that is and defeat them in order to win the game. So what I don't know that I like so much is a win-lose scenario when it comes to role-playing, because you win if everybody had a good time. Right. You win if everybody wants to do it again sometime.
Yeah.
So when it comes to a board game, you almost have to have that win-lose.
Right.
What was the game that we played not too long ago with the character cards and the constantly evolving castle that we can change from game to game to game that you have?
Oh, Hero Quest.
Hero Quest. God, yeah. Love Hero Quest.
Hero Quest is amazing.
That one, I think, is kind of one of the best start-off points for any role-play.
That started me off into role-play.
And for our listeners, if you haven't played it, please do. And if we're offering to play it with you, the only answer is yes.
Yeah, definitely. If you can find a copy for sale, buy it, because it's amazing. But it's very expensive, at least to find complete, which is sad.
Or even to find the pieces online. I was trying to find just some shelves and things. And people know it's worth something now, so you'll pay an arm and a leg for it.
Yeah.
But this game, there is a winning, there is a losing.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the idea that you have someone who is interfering, and you've got to find a way to be sneaky about that.
That's a fun aspect, yeah.
It's a different kind of game.
I think that one as well, you're talking about having winning and losing conditions. That speaks to, like I said, a specific group of players. There are some groups, I think, that need that at the end of a long RP session, they're not going to, they might have had fun, but they're going to say, okay, well, who won? And some people, that's winning is important. And, that's the kind of game that they like. And so this is a nice hybrid for those types of people where they need an end state.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't just, be a GM fiat that, oh yeah, you died. It's, oh, I died because the rules said I died, and I can accept that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and what you notice as a person who plays role-playing games continues doing them, you may go down a different path of, I have to win everything, and that means I can kill everything. But a lot of players do get more collaborative, so I even go reference the games that we've had where I've asked everyone, who do you think gets the extra experience points for having the most fun role play, who is interesting for whatever reason, bonus points, and the group can't agree. Because they don't want to say, I won, he won, she won, because everybody did a good job. Right. And it's not that anyone won, it's just, who do we give a bonus to because you really you enjoyed how they played? Yeah. But instead of people wanting to be victorious as individuals, they want to share the love to everybody. Yeah. And I think that these games are such a great gateway, and they do cater to a different niche. Yeah. But it's one of the best ways to get going. Yeah. I would say play one of these games first, something like this.
Sure.
That may be all you need to do, and it's a little easier to throw together than, say, let's roll up characters, grab some character sheets, let's go.
Yeah, let me buy the Pathfinder GM guidebook, and let's start a Pathfinder game that we never played before. Not saying you shouldn't do that.
You should do that.
If you want to, it's a ton of fun, but...
I'm going to pressure you. You should do that. And thank you, John, for sending your question.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Send us more questions if you're one of our listeners. You can post it on our Facebook page. You can leave a comment on our website. You can leave a comment on Podbean, where this podcast is. Let us know. Give some more topics you'd like us to touch on, or questions you'd like us to answer.
Yeah, start the comment off by saying question, and then put a colon or semicolon. We don't care. Yeah. However fancy you want to be. And then leave the question behind so it catches our attention and we know that it's something specific you would like for us to possibly review in an upcoming podcast. Just a little bit ago, when the microphones were off, we were discussing cosplay, going to conventions and what costumes you would wear, the ornate level that some people take it to, the perfectionists, and those who think it's okay to just slap on a cape and have a good time.
Yeah, that's okay.
I have a weird feeling about this, and this is something that we'll get to explore in the future as I, hopefully, for next Dragon Con, go and to my first convention. I feel as if you should do something when you go to the convention. I think you need to have on at least a gauntlet like your favorite character, a t-shirt, a backpack. I think you need to be sporting the new Superman tattoo you got on your neck, whatever it is. But some people disagree. Do you feel that you must cosplay when you go to a convention?
You absolutely must. Don't have to.
Don't have to.
No, not at all. It's great fun. It's not for everyone. I personally, if I go to Dragon Con for 4 days, I don't like spending all 4 days in costume. I don't like spending an entire day in costume.
Right.
For me, if I'm going to do a costume, if I'm wearing a costume, I feel, if I'm in costume and I get to a panel or something, I feel awkward. And I think that's strange to a lot of cosplayers who want to be in costume the entire time.
Yes.
For me, putting on the costume is, I want to concentrate on wearing that costume, and that's what I'm doing at that moment. I don't want to do other stuff. But, my first 3 Dragon Cons, I didn't do costumes.
Right.
Maybe 4, actually. My first 4, I guess I didn't. I still had a blast. I still had a ton of fun. There were even times, my first couple of cons, I didn't even wear a nerdy shirt. I probably just wore a plain t-shirt or something.
Yeah.
And like I said, even then I had a blast. I had a ton of fun. Now, that being said, I think anyone who is going to a convention, if you've never been before especially, but if you're going to any convention, you should feel like that's your opportunity to show who you are as a fan, show your fandom, and that's your opportunity to wear that cool t-shirt you got that you never get to wear because you work a 9 to 5 white collar or something.
Yes.
That's your chance. That's your chance to dress up in a silly costume. That's your chance to do whatever you want. And that's important. And I think everybody should be encouraged to do whatever they feel like they want to do. But at the same time, I don't think anybody should ever feel pressured to do something either. One of the wonderful things about conventions, every convention I've ever been to, and almost every convention I've ever heard of, they're all really welcoming, inclusion sort of environments, where everybody's accepted. And it doesn't matter that I spent $10,000 building a mechanical robot costume with lights that makes noise, and you wore a bathrobe that you say is your Jedi costume, and you're carrying a stick as your lightsaber. I've never seen anyone judged at a con for not being enough of a nerd. Because guess what? You paid $150 to go to a hotel and look at comic books for the weekend. You're a nerd no matter what you wear.
And I agree with that, but I feel I just found out today that a friend of mine is debating going and trying out for a play or for a musical locally. And I said, you should do it. No matter what, you should do it. Yeah. If it's a thing that you're confident in and you think it would just be fun, do it. I said, if it's a thing that you're scared of, you should still do it. Yeah. And I think that if I were to go to a convention next year, that every time I step out of the hotel room, that I should be representing, because this is the time to let my freak flag fly.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is such a great opportunity to be inclusive and show other people that it's okay to be as nerdy, geeky, or be a fan of the most random anime or video game.
Yeah.
I think you should. I don't think you have to, but I think as a person who has this opportunity, you don't go to the beach to stay in the hotel room. You go to the beach to be at the beach.
Yeah.
So if that means that one day I wear a full costume for 8 hours, treat it like a job. Do 8 hours, then go change. But that you should probably... I think you should do something. Wear that geeky shirt. Mm-hmm. Wear that bracelet. Wear that gauntlet. Wear that tiara and feel geeky and freaky and find people like you who you can talk with that you probably won't be able to speak with like this again until the next convention you go to. That you're really wasting an opportunity. And if you're going to go big. Mm-hmm. So spend a little extra time on your costume. Don't just wear a bathrobe. I know that you're a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to your costume.
I'm an extreme perfectionist who accepts nothing but the absolute best. I've trashed costumes, just not done them that I didn't feel like I couldn't do right.
Yes. And that's my fear about going.
Yeah.
If I go next year is with my height, with my body type, with my face and hair color and voice, what can I get away with?
Oh,
I can't be...
You can find anything.
I can't be Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, of course you could. You could be a super studly, giant built Spider-Man.
I am not going to be that guy who wore the Sailor Moon costume. That's been a meme for 20 years.
That's to each their own, but that's a little weird.
That's what I would feel like being. So could I be Star-Lord? I think I could get away with a Star-Lord. I think I could get away with Jane from Firefly. I think there are things that would be in my wheelhouse that I could do. Yeah. But I would want to go big. I want to look right, look good, and have people look at me and go, "Oh, I know what that guy is." Not, "What is he doing?" Because clearly, what he's wearing, I'm supposed to know what he is.
Well, I will say this, and I'm a big nerd. I'm not the biggest nerd by far. I'm not aware of all fandoms and all that stuff. When I go to Dragon Con, especially with 70-some thousand people, whatever, there's a lot of people in costumes that I have no idea what the hell they are.
But if they put effort into making it, at least you know that looks cool.
Yeah.
So I'm
definitely,
not saying...
Definitely. Yeah, you see like somebody in like armor, and I'm like, oh, I'm sure that's from a game or something.
Yeah, it's probably from Warcraft. I don't know what. It's cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that, like I said, I agree with you from a personal perspective. From a me going to a con, it's important for me to try and put together a costume. Mm-hmm. But I am such a perfectionist to where it has to be a great costume. That being said, I'm never going to judge somebody if they feel like a t-shirt or a bathrobe or whatever is their costume, and that's what they want to put into it. You use the analogy of going to the beach and staying in the hotel. I think the analogy here is, go to the beach, leave the hotel, go to the beach, but if you want to wear a big baggy t-shirt and board shorts at the beach, and that's what you're comfortable in, that's okay. Yeah. If you want to wear a teeny tiny micro bikini,
please
go for it.
Cool.
Well, I mean, that's what I usually wear at the beach personally, but I like to get a tan.
All right, that just about wraps it up for us. We are still working pretty steadily through the next few weeks. Mm-hmm. I did some pre-recording on 3 videos simultaneously because I figured, why would you film at a location, tear down, set up, and keep moving when you could do certain portions all at once and then tear down and just record multiple things. So I'm excited to see how that works. I've never done that before. I've always done one video from beginning to end. I also have one blog about ready to go down. It was something a little different. I like the idea of telling stories. Mm-hmm. And I like the idea of telling the reasoning behind some of my ideas. Yeah. And sometimes I write something that I'm actually surprised at. That's not too bad. Mm-hmm. I never think it's great, but it's not too bad. And so whenever I have that feeling, I really want to share it with people and get their input. So I hope to have some more things written coming up in the next 2 weeks. It'll probably take me about another week to have everything else that I want filmed, in the can, edited, and at least get the next episode, which will technically episode 2. Episode 1 was part 1 through 3, so whatever it is.
It's fine.
Something else is coming up soon. Cool. You just dropped a new episode from Let's Build.
Today I put up another short episode, really short one, about my lightsaber project, which is nearing completion. Will be done in the next few days, so I'm going to have another episode of that's already recorded up soon, and then after that I think I am going to sort of finish. I mean, I'm going to do some more videos in the series, but I'm going to finish the first saber, basically, and I'm thinking about doing that as a live stream.
I think that'll be really cool.
When I do it, if I decide to do that, I'll post a couple things about, my live stream's going to be this day at this time, so maybe I can get some folks to watch. But
no spoilers, but do you have a current estimation of the cost? Because I know, no spoilers, we'll save that for the video, but do you think you have an idea of what you could predict someone would reasonably pay?
I will say this. I was close until I started painting. And at no point did I even consider the cost of painting. Mm-hmm. It's not exorbitant, but it has added a little bit more cost than I expected.
More than you think.
I didn't plan that in.
It's one of those things that you always have to buy, but it lasts for a while, so if you average it out...
When you're airbrushing an entire lightsaber hilt, that paint goes fast. I don't know, that's the one regret with using plastic versus metal, is that it does require paint, whereas metal I wouldn't have to. But,
okay. Yeah. So, follow us please on Instagram.
Instagram, Twitter, we both have tweeters.
We've started to get good at tweeting. Instagram, I'm having fun putting pictures up on that.
Been trying to put some cool stuff up as I'm finishing this project. Yeah.
I think those are a really fun way to keep up with our creative process and maybe get a preview as what is to come instead of us saying, hey, go check out the video on lightsabers. You should already know that's happening, but what color lightsaber? Maybe you can tell from the picture in the background.
It's a good way to get in touch with us, too. You can message us on social media, various social medias. The Foundry has a Instagram and Twitter as well, so you can get us there and ask us questions there, too.
And also, Facebook is always I think it's going out of style.
Yeah,
it's not as fashionable.
Definitely.
It's not as cool. Although for me, it's the most user friendly. It makes sense.
Yeah.
So we'll keep posting on that as well. Like we said before, send us your questions. Keep listening. We appreciate.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody who's listening and people who've given us some feedback, and we appreciate the support we've gotten. And if you like us, tell other folks to listen to us, share the links and spread us around a little bit. We'd love to have more listeners because the more people that hear us, they're going to ask us questions. We're going to get to share stuff we're doing with them. We get to hear what they're doing, which is some fun I had today. Speaking of like Instagram, just farting around on Instagram and finding people that are doing costumes for Dragon Con, and it's fun. So we want to connect with more people, and so yeah, please share with us other connections you have, and share us with connections that you have, and let them follow us too.
Thank you for listening. I'm Cyrus.
And I am Zach.
We'll catch you next time on the FoundryCast.
Bye, guys. Free tacos next episode.
Free tacos?
No, not free tacos.
Don't go play with my heart like that, Cletus.